You've heard the melody every Sunday for years, the face of God. You are the face of God. It's going to be 5 different verses. You are the face of God. You are the joy of God. You are the peace, etc. And if you want to turn that inward and sing to yourself, I am the face of God, feel free to do so. Okay, the words up here. Go ahead.
It's coming.
Oh, there we go. You are the face of God. I hold you in my arms. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. Sing to your neighbor, sing to your heart, sing to your loved ones. You are the joy of God. I hold you in my arms. You are a part of me. You are the joy of God. Next peace. You are the peace of God. I hold you in my arms. You are a part of me. You are the peace of God. The love of God is next. You are the love of God. I hold you in my arms. You are a part of me. You are the love of God. What last verse? You are the heart of God. I hold you in my arms. You are a part of me. You are the heart of God. Amen. Namaste. Have a seat. Beautiful.
Will the prayer chaplain bring forward the prayer box, please?
Let us move together to that relaxed stillness inside. Let us picture that Christ candle burning within. And from that higher place, let us lift up the prayers in this box together. Lift them up to Spirit for their fulfillment to the greatest good of all. With gratitude, we say, Amen. Amen.
Thank you. And just a moment. And at this time, I'd like all of you to know that Dean and myself and Cliff, we are prayer chaplains, and it would be a blessing and a pleasure if you wanted to have us pray with you one-on-one, prayerfully and confidential. Thank you. And now, Olga will read the daily word.
Today's word is balance. Word, play, rest, and prayer are balanced in my life today. Creating a new dimension of consciousness, one that Jesus called the kingdom of heaven, is my purpose as I move through the day. Achieving that goal requires time and commitment, and I do what is mine to do with gratitude and appreciation. I do what is mine to do with gratitude and appreciation. However, rest, relaxation, and prayer are also elements that are vital to my spiritual well-being. My mortal mind tends to overemphasize negative, fear-based challenges at the expense of the light and love that fill even my gloomiest days. Balance occurs when I surrender my mortal mind to the infinite mind of spirit within me. When I surrender, there I will find my day perfectly balanced in rewarding and surprising ways, among work, rest, relaxation, and prayer. I have seen the business that God has given to everyone to be busy with. That's ending with a preposition. He has made everything suitable for its time. Ecclesiastes 3:10-11.
Amen.
Thank you, Olga.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Let us empty our laps, still our minds, and prepare ourselves to say our sacred Lord's Prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. It is indeed with pleasure. Susan Joy Holliday, our own, is our speaker today.
Thank you. I'd like to move into a deeper sacred space first before I speak on my own. Let us call upon our inner divine. And if you would, take a deep breath. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes. Know that you are supported and held in a safe place by the bench, by the floor, by all of us. I turn within, shifting my awareness from the world around me to the life I am, breathing the breath of divine life. Right where I am is all that is. Right where I am is all the vitality I could ever need. I cannot run out of energy, for I am divine. Divine energy can never run out, because divine energy flows from divine life. I celebrate today, living fully and freely, gratefully, for I am divine life. I look to the beauty of all that is around me, and all that is within me, and all that I am. Everywhere I look, I behold wondrous divine order. I know the sun rises every morning, even when I cannot see it, for sometimes the clouds cover the shining. I too am divine order. The light I am is always shining, even when clouded thinking obscures my view. I shine brightly today, joyfully observing divine order in everything and everyone. In this sacred moment, I rise to the high mountain of spiritual awareness, where the view is vast and without obstruction. Here I am in the kingdom of the heavens, a consciousness of divine clarity. Divine clarity makes molehills out of my mountains of worry, where before I was an only human, captivated by fearful imaginings. Now I am divine clarity, captivated by a view of magnificent possibilities. The picture from this perspective is clear. I appreciate my clear vision, and I delight in the expectation of good. Let us experience that vision for a moment of silence. Again, let us breathe in for inspiration and exhale any distractions. Breathe in this light of divine clarity. And bring your attention back to this room as you feel comfortable. Open your eyes again. Thank you all. Beautiful faces, angelic voices, human beings, and divine light having a human experience here in unity on the mountain. I am Susan Joy Holliday, and my parents named me Susan Joy right after World War II finished, and Dad came home and made a baby. And there must have been a lot of joy going on at that time. They never explained all that, but I've read history. So I am proud to be a member of this church since 2007, and I wanted to talk to you this morning. I felt an urge, a pull, a word in my ear. My divine spirit said, it's time to talk again. It's time for you to get up there and talk again. And it started in the workshop that we had about affirmative prayer a couple weekends ago. We had 10 hours of instruction on affirmative prayer. And I thought to myself, well, I haven't exactly been doing that. You know, I'm still doing the supplication version where I'm saying, please God, help me. Please do this. I need some more of that. And I'm worried about this, you know, and just sort of giving it all up to God. And your angels better handle this for me because I'm not doing so well. And that's not what affirmative prayer is about. We can say that, yes, but you know, why only that? I mean, that still sounds like God's out there someplace up in heaven. And I know from being here at Unity for all these years that God is here. I have it. I am divine. I have it. I'm a child of God. And all is well, even if it doesn't look like it right now. I met a gentleman in the parking lot as I was getting in my car to come over here to church this morning, and he had on a t-shirt that said, Auburn, the beast, or something about beastie Auburn. And I said, so how's the beast doing, you know? And he sort of looked at me like, what are you talking about? And he looked down and he said, oh man, this was the only clean one I had. I'm really an Alabama fan. I said, go Bama. You know? I said, well, you could turn it inside out and nobody would know. He said, I love that idea. And I thought, okay, God, there's a metaphysical message. We are here this morning to turn our shirts inside out, our skins inside out, the way that we interact and worry and fret and think that we're in charge of this world with our little egos. We're going to turn that inside out this morning, at least for a few minutes, okay? Are you with me?
Yes.
He was placed there with his auburn shirt, just another face of God, right? So I asked Barry and Amy to play that and sing that with us this morning, The Face of God, because one of the things that happened during that workshop was that I told 2 stories to Brenda Durham, our instructor, about me, about my past, about my leukemia and my journey, my survival, and the place that this church holds in my heart. And later I started thinking, why am I telling that story? I don't know her. It didn't really, it didn't add a lot. Why am I telling that story? Like I'm identifying myself and saying, hello, I'm Susan, I'm a survivor of leukemia. Do you want to hear the rest of the story? Basically. And I tell a lot of people, I don't even know them, I know I'll never see them again, and I tell them all about my leukemia. So I thought, I'm claiming it. I'm keeping it here close to me, that leukemia, that nasty stuff, and that treatment. I don't want it anymore. It's gone. It's been gone for years. When was it? Soon after I started treatment, the doctor came in and said, you're in remission. I didn't even hear that. It went right over my head. Carol said, did you hear what he said? Remission. I said, I have to have a new mission? Remission? Oh man, I'm busy with this chemotherapy stuff. So I thought about, there's a friend of mine who was one of my drivers from Friends Incorporated, who always introduced herself in that similar manner. She always said, hi, my name is, and I was blown up here to Huntsville by Hurricane Katrina. Every single time, every person she met, and she would tell them about it. And I said, when was that hurricane? And she said, a year, and we figured out that was 5-6 years ago. I said, is that really what you want people to know about you? I know you were associate dean at a university down there, and you taught courses in literature, and you're just an amazing woman. And you want to tell them that the hurricane blew you up here? Is that how you want to be identified? And she said, I didn't think about that. It's just that was such an event that changed and transformed my whole life, that stuck in my hippocampus or whatever part your memory is stuck in, because it was such a jolt. And that's the same with my illness. It was a surprise. I went into the doctor thinking I had the flu, and he put me in the hospital. Within 3 hours, I was getting chemotherapy for leukemia, and he told me I wouldn't last the weekend. That was 10 years ago. So that was a defining moment in my life. There's a little church near where I live now, and it's called the Refiner's Fire. And every time I go by, I think, yeah, that's what that was. That leukemia stuff was a refiner's fire. Just burned all the bad stuff out of me, and it brought this light that shined through. And I don't even know it's there. People can see it. So I was inspired by that workshop, and the memory popped up. It brought tears to my eyes in the workshop when I told the story about praying in a very difficult place in the hospital. First of all, I want to say that my dad had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he was diagnosed in 1984, and they told him he only had a few weeks to live. So my family and I flew back from Scotland to say goodbye to Dad. He was in the hospital, and he took radiation and operations and chemotherapy, and he died peacefully in 2002. So from 84 to 2002, he put up with this non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that kept coming back and coming back. He was in and out of the hospital. And yet he laughed. Laughter was healing for him. And he saw the face of God in every person that came to help him. I asked him one time, how do you know so much about every nurse and every technician and every doctor, every guy that pushes you down the hall to the lab? And he said, I'm just curious. I'm interested in them. I asked him about themselves. But he got such better treatment because they then cared about him. They knew he cared about what they were doing, where they were going to school. He offered to help them with something or other. He always asked them about their kids, for instance. So when I was diagnosed with leukemia, I said, okay, I know that trick. I'm going to make friends with everybody that comes to this room. I see the face of God in every single person, even if they're grumpy and grouchy. I sat next to a woman when I had a blood clot and a massive infection at one point. I had to go to a doctor's office where he had these little recliner chairs, and you sit there and you get the drip of antibiotics or antivirus or whatever he was giving me. And this poor woman next to me was just, I have lost all my teeth to an infection, and I've been this miserable. I mean, she was awful. I said, could I have a different chair, please? I see the face of God, but I don't want any of that. You know? Whatever you got going on there, honey, you haven't moved to the divine within you, that it is possible to survive. So I didn't really move. I just talked to her and blessed her little heart. And I mean that in the southern sort of way. So the first guy that I totally rejected in the hospital was the chaplain, and I just can't remember his name, but he looked older than I felt, and he came toddling in, and he said, hi, I'm chaplain so-and-so, the hospital chaplain. This was Crestwood Hospital. I always had a single room there. I was always by myself, and you know, it was luxury. It was like being at a retreat, really, except for the chemicals and the bad food. So he comes in and he says, hi, I'm chaplain, and I come from a Lutheran background, Missouri Synod Lutheran, and I said, hey, that's what I grew up. I was Missouri Synod Lutheran until I got married at 20 and I moved away, and I realized there were other things in the world that were more interesting. And I had too many questions for those Lutherans. They didn't like me asking all those questions. Like, what do you mean I'm born in sin? No, 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 I don't believe that. You know, so finally I found unity here. And I agree with this. We're not, you know, we are divine. We are born with that spark of light within us, this Christ light that we remind ourselves of. It's within us. So I talked with him about that. I said, here's what I believe. And I talked with him for months. I was in and out of the hospital there for vast stretches of time, for 6 months. He came in faithfully and he tried to pray with me and tried to get me saved. And yes, I've been blessed. I've been baptized. I've been there, okay, you know, and we talked about the divine child within. Even you, chaplain, have a divine spark within you. By the time I was ready to check out of there, I mean, just go home, not check out to the next transition. He came to me and he said, I have to retire. I have to move closer to my family. And I want to recommend you as my replacement chaplain. Now, you know, I'm laying there with chemicals and this awful gown. And I can't even feel the air around me. I am just out of it. And I said, what? You want me to be chaplain? I don't pray like you do. I don't talk like you do. I haven't studied. I don't have a certificate. You know, all the reasons why not. He said, but you listen. You listened to me. And you spoke from your heart to my heart. And he said, that's the most important thing that any patient in here would want from a chaplain. I don't care if you praise Jesus and get down on your knees. I don't care, he said, but you have the Spirit. I said, oh yeah, I have the divine Spirit. Thank you, God. So even in these awful circumstances, remember, our words have meaning, our thoughts have meaning. We design our experiences with our own thoughts and statements. So I was helping him to design his own next phase in life. He went to live closer to his daughter, and they were helping each other. So the story that I told in the workshop was one day, I don't even know how many months into it was, but I've told this before. Pardon me, those of you that have heard it before, but it was one of those treatments that this cute little guy had to come in the room, and I was too weak to get up out of the bed to go to the radiology lab. So he just wheeled the whole blankety-blank bed. He just unhooked it and he said, here we go. Down the hall, around the corner, downstairs, up the elevator, down here. It was like from one end of Crestwood, which is on, what street is that on the front side of it? all the way to the back parking lot, you know, and then we went downstairs into the dungeon where they have all the labs and the MRIs and the x-rays and all that. So one of these little tiny rooms is the fluoroscope room, and he wheels me in there, and several people help me scoot over on the table under the fluoroscope and lay on my stomach, which is swollen lymph glands through here. I didn't even know we had them. My pancreas was infected, and I got to lay on my stomach. Then he said that my backbone, my spine wasn't prominent enough, so he put a pillow under my stomach. And then he said, now pump your stomach up and down. And I said, you are blankety blank crazy. I can't even get up off the bed, much less pump my stomach when I'm laying on it. And I'm crying into the pillow at the top end of the bed, and the nurse is patting my leg, and I'm thinking, is my back end open? Because this gown feels really drafty. There's all these people in here. Oh God, where am I now? And I just got fierce. I said, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. There is nothing that I need that I don't have already. And the nurse started saying it with me. He makes me to lie down in green pastures and beside still waters. And we skipped a few lines, you know, we didn't say everything. He restores my soul. I remember who I am. I awake on this horrible bed that I'm lying on. I rise up. The image of the shepherd comes to us as a caregiving image, that the shepherd takes care of all the little lambs and the grouchy old rams, right? And the ewes. The shepherd takes care of all of the needs of this flock. The little staff, the thing with the hook on the top, you know, they reach the little lambs up out of the ditch they fell in, or use the rod to get them all back into the right place. We're going home. We're going to go eat on another pasture with still waters. And so the nurse started saying it with me. The technicians, 2 or 3 of them, started saying it with me. The doctor's still poking and probing. And we finally get through the procedure. He gets done with it, and they say, okay, get me back on the little bed. The little guy that had pushed me up there, Tommy, I think it was, who wanted to become a doctor, but started out here at the base level, pushing patients around to their locations. He met me in the hall, and he said, are you okay, Miss Holliday? I heard you praying in there, and I was right here with you. I was right here outside the door with you the whole time and saying that with you. I know that song. And so your words are just going out into the world without recognizing the impact you have on others. Carol brought me a gift. She came to visit me. She took my laundry home and did it for me every week. Amazing. You guys brought me food and paid for my rent and utilities and just took care of me as I was a child. She came to visit me, brought me a beautiful wrapped up package, and I said, oh, Carol, you don't have to do that. You're already doing my laundry. And she says, it's not from me. Look at the card. It was a beautiful framed photograph. I still have it. I love it. And it was a picture of a sunflower that had burst into flower, bloom, a beautiful bloom. And on the back, there was a note from Tom, who used to come here to the church. And he said, you never know how far your words will travel. This flower is from the seeds that you handed out at one of your sermons months and months ago. And stay strong, you know, just keep on growing, Susan. So it just gave me such a blessing to know that he had heard my words. He took the seeds home and planted them in the back of this apartment building that he lived in, and then took a photograph of it to remind me that my words have meaning and power. I feel like I'm getting my voice back, and I want yours too. No, I want you to have yours. So the next line, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. At the time, I was just thinking, okay, it's kind of a dark place, and I feel like it's possible that I could die. Is this it? Is this all I get? And then I thought, but it says the shadow of death, so that means death is flying over the top of these mountains, and I'm in the valley, and I'm going to be okay. While I'm writing this down on this very piece of paper, I got the television on, just blah, 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 because I do that frequently. It's for company, and I don't have to listen to the people in the hall shouting out that Meals on Wheels is here now. Or maintenance is here to check your pipes or something. So I'm writing this down. I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and I hear those very words on the television. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And I look up, what? It was a story that somebody had died, and this was the minister was behind the coffin and the church and was saying these words, because they're words that we find comforting, that there's something bigger than just me and my little ego that's taking care of this world. I will fear no evil. I will fear nothing, because thou art with me. And where is thou? I learned thou as the terminology when I was a kid, but God is with me, Spirit is with me, divinity is with me. Right here. I have it here. I don't have to worry. Yes, it's right here next to me if I want it to be, but it's here. Thou art with me everywhere I go. Wherever I am, God is. And all is well. So I knew I had this book on my shelf by Rabbi Harold Kushner, Kushner. And it's something about the Lord is my shepherd, healing wisdom of the 23rd Psalm. And so I was thinking, why do I keep wanting to tell this story? Yes, okay, I'm a storyteller, and I like the fascinating details of it. I like the miracles that happened during that time for me and the awakening. But why do I keep wanting to tell it? So the rabbi in the middle here talks about he lost, one of his children died, and he and his wife went to a grief support group to help them grieve and to get back to a life that they could survive and they could live. And he said, we attended for 3 or 4 months and then, quote, graduated, feeling we had gotten what we needed from that group. But there were parents there of children who had not missed a meeting in 10 years. 10 years. They were grieving so much they couldn't move on. He said they remained in the valley of the shadow instead of finding their way through it. I don't judge them. 25 years after my son's death, that remains the single defining moment of my life. But I'm trying to understand them, he says. They are stuck. They're stuck in the shadows. And perhaps cannot visualize something beyond, something better. This is my story. This is my deep story that I was appalled to live through. I was excited to live through. But it just touched me so much that maybe I'm stuck. Maybe I'm a little stuck in the story. So hopefully spitting it out to all of you guys, you can all share it with me, and I won't have to carry it. Or maybe this is the first chapter that I'm writing about it, and I get it out of my soul in that way. I don't want to be those people stuck in that support group for myself for 10 years. One other miracle that just astounded me was, so I had gone to the doctor, I thought I had the flu. He sent me over to the oncology department, and I waited and waited and waited for the doctor to see me because I was a walk-in essentially, you know. And so that was 2:30, he came in and told me that I had leukemia and I needed treatment right away. They put me in a wheelchair, he gave me the orders, somebody wheeled me over to the admission desk, and by 7 o'clock, I think it was, perhaps 7:30, I had gone through the first MRI ever, and x-rays and blood tests and poking and probing, and I had gotten a PICC line in my arm so that they could do the chemotherapy faster. Back in my room, I'm coming in there, and the television is on, and I said to myself, I didn't turn on the television, I wasn't in here long enough before they wheeled me downstairs, and what is that? And it was this big, humongous indoor arena with Joel baby face, Joel Osteen in Houston. He's in Houston, right? This huge, massive crowd of people, and he's right up there at the camera, and he's saying, if you have just received bad news, if you have received a bad diagnosis, if you have lost your job, which I had 3 part-time jobs I had just lost as well as the bad diagnosis. And I'm just backing away into my bed and pulling my knees up and the sheet up to here. He can see me! Oh my gosh! Maybe this is like a two-way sort of miracle. And he says, but God wants you to know that you are meant to live in God's favor. You are meant to be living in abundance. You are meant to be healed and whole. And I said, okay, I gotta grab that and keep it, and I wrote it down in my journal right away. But who turned that television on? So I didn't even know that station existed. it must have been one of the other people, a tech or a nurse or somebody that was resting in there between patients. So I felt like that was a miracle, living in the grace of Spirit from that moment on. There were so many miracles. I just want to name a few others besides this church. Dr. Dang, first of all, Paul Dang, bless his heart in the best possible way. I said to him right away, okay, you give me this diagnosis, I can't go to the hospital, I don't have enough insurance, I don't have money, I will lose my jobs, I just can't imagine. And he said, you are a human being, you are my patient, you're right here in front of me, we're going to treat you and worry about the money later. I don't think anybody ever said that to me before. I mean, even now I go to doctor's offices and they're like, that'll be $20, please. You know, first thing. You don't even know why are you here or are you in the right office. So, and he did find the money. He had social workers that worked in his group there, and they found drug companies that paid for the drugs. They found the Huntsville Hospital Foundation that paid for the blood work, the platelets transfusions, the blood transfusions, the lab work. I mean, he found millions of dollars to cover my hospital expenses and all the other things that went along with this. He gave me chemotherapy for 2 years. Who gets chemo for 2 years anymore? So 10 years ago, maybe that was the recommended dosage, but I think he just wanted to keep me around. You know? And even at the end, it was July 2008, I said, okay, it's 2 years now since diagnosis, it's time for me to go. He said, no, 1 more month, 1 more, and then you'll be all right. I said, after 23, 24 months, what's 1 more month? You know, he said, I gotta do it, I gotta do it. Okay. Another group, Friends Incorporated, first of all, gave me thousands of rides. Volunteers gave me thousands of rides to go to doctors, etc. One of the volunteers saved my life. She recognized while I was getting a transfusion in a clinic area that I was going into shock because she had been an RN. She was a retired nurse. And the nurse that was giving me the transfusion kept saying, oh, I'll get you some Benadryl, you're just having a reaction, it's going to be okay. And she wouldn't hear it. She said, no, what's your doctor's number? I'm going to call him. Because that nurse would not call my doctor. So she took my phone, she called my doctor. He said, don't even bother with the ER, bring her up to the 3rd floor, the cancer area, so she doesn't get any infections, and I'll be right there. His office was located next door to the hospital. So we got up to the 3rd floor. I was in room 316, which 2 ministers, a Seventh-day Adventist and a missionary Baptist, had rejoiced that I was in room 316 in memory of John 3:16. For God so loved the world. They said, this is your room. You're going to stay in this room. It's good for you. Bless you. So by the time the doctor got there to that room, I was unconscious and wheeled right next door to the emergency ICU and had sepsis. And they put me on this ice bath, and I was unconscious for the next day and a half, night and a day. Then I was sort of semi-conscious, and Carol said she must be getting better. She asked for the charger for her phone. But that was my link to my daughter up in Montreal, so if I couldn't talk to her, she would start getting worried. She knew I was sick in the hospital. So that miracle of having that volunteer driver that day, at that time, with that transfusion, knowing what to do, amazing! I could have just been that, sort of the opposite end of miracles. When I first checked into the hospital, this little guy comes up to the bed, and he's only about this tall, and he said, hi, I'm the social worker for the hospital, and I'm going to help you apply for Social Security disability. I said, really? I need that? Okay. I was out of it. He brought the papers down. I filled them out to the best of my ability. He typed them up. He arranged for Social Security to call me in the hospital so I didn't have to go into the germ-ridden Social Security office to interview. And so I had to wait. There was a mandatory waiting period, but I got Social Security disability a year later. And that gave me some medical benefits within the state as well. I never would have gotten there without him. I didn't even know that I would qualify for that. I was just out of it. I just can't go on any longer. There's so many things that a group of strangers from the feminist chorus, and some of them were from the Friends Society, the Quakers. They got together and pooled their money to buy me a quality wig. I didn't even know them. They just heard about me through a prayer network somewhere, and amazing, just amazing. And they just joyfully did all these things. So that was one more thing that I wanted to talk about briefly, was that at first I was saying, no, like to the doctor, I don't have any money, I can't go, I can't be treated, I guess that's the end, I'm just going to quit. And I didn't want help. I didn't want anybody coming in and checking on me, and I wasn't right, I wasn't myself with all this energy, you know. So I learned by watching people's faces, the face of God appeared in their faces. They had such joy giving me things, helping me, doing things, anything, without me even asking for it. But if I asked for it, that was even better. Oh, you want a ride? Okay. You know, because I know what I can do with that. It brought me meals, etc. So if you know anybody that doesn't want to ask for help, think about how we all are the face of God. We all are connected in that energy of life and spirit. We are one. So I would help you. Of course you want to help me. And therefore, let us turn our t-shirts around inside out today and go forward with that divine energy, divine order within us. To what? What are we going to sing next?
Imagine.
Imagine. Let us imagine. And thank you all for listening today.
We're so blessed to have her in our congregation to be able to share that story. We're going to go ahead and stand and sing Imagine by John Lennon. It's wonderful. Thank you, Susan. Ready? Here we go. Imagine there's heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Ooh, imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. They say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people